Carnival Personnel was recorded in a dank, moldy basement.
Joe and Jacques, it's Carnival Personnel. Joe and Jacques, to their wives this show is their personal hell. Well, the show sounds the same every single week. Pats are great, Trump is lame, and Joe barely speaks. Who you think still listening?
Who you think still listening?
Besides Jim and Biff, yeah.
And don't forget Richard.
Here's a random review. No one cares about you two, Joe and Jacques.
Joe and Jacques, Joe and Jacques, Joe and Jacques.
You know, Biff, there are 3 types of people in this world.
Go on.
Those who can count and those who can't. Hey, yeah. So Biff, I sold my vacuum the other day.
Oh, you don't say, huh?
It was just collecting dust.
That is funny.
I bought my ticket. I knew what I was getting into. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Carnival Personnel. This is Jacques.
And this is Biff. Hello.
When did Biff become like
Watto from episode 1?
And that just like hunk of burning love is our good friend Joe.
Hello. Hi, guys. Hi.
Right.
Master of 1,000 annoying voices.
So we'll get right into it. We will give a shout out to last week's sideshow guest, Lauren Sims. She is a comedian Joe and I saw a few weeks back at the Luna Theater in Lowell at the Greg Boga's Mondo Comedy Show. She was a fantastic guest. And last night, Joe and I took a little field trip to see our new friend do some stand-up and host a show at, can I say the prestigious China Blossom?
Yeah, I would say so. In North Andover. It took me back. It took me back to, it reminded me of my literal day of doing stand-up comedy at one of those kind of Dick Doherty type Chinese restaurant / comedy shows.
Yeah, Dick Doherty in the 80s was this guy in New England who pioneered running comedy events mostly at like restaurants, you know. I mean, there's all these VFW halls and Knights of Columbus places where people, you know, four-wall and rent things out. But he would make stable comedy nights at dozens and dozens of places. And this is one of those places that's been a comedy venue for 40 years. North of Boston, it's probably the biggest. But anyways, so we went there. Management is out of town. She just saw 2 more Duran Duran concerts in Queens, New York, and then in Atlantic City with a friend of hers. But another friend of hers just got thrown like a curveball type, you know, thing, and you know, broken up, and a really good friend of ours. So I told management, it's like, hey, Joe and I are going out. She knows Joe. She knows how annoying we are. And if she wants to put up with that. So she came out and we saw it. And the headliner was Tony V, somebody who's just a Boston legend. But again, friend of the podcast, Steve Bjork, was on the lineup. I don't remember the second guy.
Well, do you remember the opening act?
I do remember. Why don't you talk a little bit about the opening act?
The opening act was a young comic. And by young, I mean literally 15 years old. His name was Dustin. I forget his last name. He was a, clean-cut young white kid with kind of an unusual voice. He outed himself as somebody who was on the autistic spectrum. But, man, he kind of gave Gilbert Gottfried a run for his money as far as the material goes, because he's young and green. He's getting it all out there. Maybe not reading the room properly, but made me laugh. Albeit I couldn't make eye contact with him, and I had to look directly down into my lap on almost all the punchlines because I felt like I needed an adult. Like it was like, oh boy, like this is coming out of a 15-year-old. But then I'm like, wait a minute. When I first started stand-up comedy, I was 2 years older than what this kid is now. So I think that also added to my nostalgia or thinking back of when I was doing stand-up comedy back in 1997, had to have been 95, 96 maybe. I was like 19.
I left in 95 and
Okay.
you had done it right.
So
after.
yeah, like I was like 18 years old when I started doing stand-up. But yeah, this is like some young kid, but he's telling he was wearing a blue shirt and he was telling some blue jokes.
About his mom.
Yeah. Yes. About his mom and maybe other moms and maybe school teachers, and Michael Jordan made a cameo appearance, or at least not Michael Jordan himself per se, but maybe something he might have used that could be worth something now.
But making the Gilbert comparison because of, again, the funky voice that he had. And I wasn't sure if it was a speech impediment, an affectation, or just...
I don't think it was... I'm sure it was heightened, but I'm sure that's just kind of the way he talks. He's a 15-year-old kid who's on the spectrum-ish, but he was telling some pretty funny jokes, especially for a kid his age. And he wasn't like fumfering. He didn't freeze or blow at any of the lines.
A lot of confidence.
Right. A little too much confidence. I think he needs to be taken down a peg. But you know what? Stick with it, kid. You're unscrewing it now, I believe. Are you?
All right, ready, Johnny left.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I'm fumbling with the mic. Sorry.
I love it. But I think, he was definitely a memorable comic, at least in my eyes.
And it's funny because a couple weeks ago, Joe and I and our friend Wayne I don't know if they've changed the podcast. Our friend Wayne has this great podcast called Open Mic Pain, but Joe and I were talking to him. It's like, you guys are past open mic comics now and your show's evolving. And I think they're kind of keeping the name, but changing. But anyways, we went with our friend Wayne to see, to go to Greg Bogus' show. Steve Bjork was an unexpected guest. It was great to see him. And then I went to see a show in Boston like the next weekend because our friend Jenny, again, another guest on the podcast, Jenny Howell, was hosting and Steve was on the list. And then this past week's guest, like Lauren, was hosting last night. And it was a big night for her because I think it's her first time hosting a big show. She is a former student of Tony V, the legendary Tony V. So I figured it'd be a great night. And, just funny enough, I was listening to Wayne's podcast and he was talking about Steve. I sent it to Steve saying, hey, these guys are talking. You're really influencing this thing. Oh, by the way, I'm going to the show. And he's like, oh, I'm on that show. And I'm like, I swear to God, Steve, I'm not stalking you. I'm really, okay, maybe a little, but.
This was supposed to be my week off. I'm stalking you.
But it was fun. It was really fun. So we had a little carnival personnel, 2/3 of the carnival personnel staff do a little field trip. Biff is not with us. Biff is having some function at his house today.
I like to call ourselves Carnival Personnel East.
Okay. The Teen Titans had divided up into the Teen Titans East and West for a good, they had the, I'm not doing that. I'm not going down the Titans rabbit hole. I am in my head. I'm hosting two podcasts simultaneously.
Yes.
But, Biff has a function at his house today, so he's doing his big shopping and all that. But Joe and I went to this. We had a little field trip. We saw Lauren. She did great. Tony V was great. The room was a little flat, and this room sells out most of the time. I'm surprised with that lineup. It wasn't sold out. 80% capacity.
It was pretty full.
It was pretty full.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And the lady, like the hostess who was sitting us, like, oh, look, there's these seats right up front.
Right. Yeah. The splash zone. No.
And it's funny because most people are like, oh, that's great. I'm like, no, we know these comics, and we also know they're crowd work comics. Is that booth in the far corner back over there available?
Yeah, we did not want to be commented on our dress or appearance or, who we were fucking or anything like that, I didn't even want any implication that you and I might be an item.
It's just,
not that there's anything wrong
not
with
that there's anything wrong with it at all. Like, I mean, you could do better. I think you could do better.
I was going to say the same about you.
But yeah, our little field trip was fun. And then, we pulled back into, my humble abode, 11.
Yeah,
ish.
11-ish.
And then that's when the partying started. That's when the real joke.
We put the mirror down.
Oh,
and then you get the razor blade out,
yep.
and then we start cutting up that pure uncut Colombian YouTube. That's what. And by YouTube I mean that's the official David Letterman YouTube channel. Like Letterman runs that. Like his compound runs that channel, and they curate all those bits. And so they also made a playlist every couple of weeks or so. They have a staff member, former staff member, or somebody who'd written for the show, or even a celebrity enthusiast like Jimmy Kimmel,
right,
come on and do testimonials and say, "Hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel. I'm the host of Late Night, or with Jimmy Kimmel Live, and I'm the world's biggest David Letterman fan." I had a license plate that said late night. I had late night themed parties.
I was known as the kid who watched late night in high school. That's Jimmy Kimmel was talking, and it's great. He's like, that was my thing. That's what people knew me for.
Right. I did this in lieu of dating kind of thing, and he would introduce his most memorable bits, including the week where the Late Show went to Las Vegas, where he was living at the time. And Kimmel's telling the story. It's like, when the late night was coming to Vegas, I would write in for tickets, not only from like my household, but from all of my neighbors' household. My friend Cleo from across the street, my grandfather, my uncle. And I said, if you get tickets, you have to take me as your +1. And he went to every show that week in Las Vegas. And it was like, even said like there was a big billboard advertising for the late night week in Las Vegas, and they actually had the Nevada license plate that said L8 space NITE. That was the exact license plate that Jimmy Kimmel had for his car at the time. So it was like, what did he call it? Like the best week of his life.
And they curate like, either if it was a writer, oh, here's the first skit I write, or here's my favorite skit. And then one writer, it's like, before I came on the show, I fell in love with the show because of this skit. And then they were pulling out like semi-obscure characters, or this one writer guy who played Flunky the Clown.
Yeah, Jeff Martin, who wrote for The Simpsons. And he was inspired by George Meyer, who had also written for The Simpsons. They worked together on The Simpsons, but George Meyer was a writer on Late Night before Jeff Martin became a writer, and also became Flunky the Clown. All you late night heads out there will remember Flunky the Clown. But they would play bits just like, and little one-off bits. Like you would never, in no other context would you seek out these bits other than the framing device that, oh, by the way, my name is Jeff Martin. I wrote for The Simpsons and for Late Night. And by the way, here's every sketch that I appeared in. Here's with, me with Paul Schaefer doing a bit, and I played this guy who came in and got conked on the head by a fake girder that fell over Dave's desk. And it was just great nerdy comedy stuff. And also the way it was like a Whitman sampler of late night Letterman material and late show Letterman material. And it was like, there was the funny stuff, and then there was the heartwarming stuff, and the poignant stuff, and the heartbreaking stuff, and also the awkward stuff, like Shirley MacLaine appearing on Letterman, calling him an asshole.
And not the joking around. Like she was like,
she said, oh, maybe Cher was right.
Cher was right.
Yeah. Because he was asking her about her past lives. And then Jimmy Kimmel was framing that. He said that this is the first time I'm going to be seeing this sketch as well, because I would stay up for every late night appearance. And back then there were only 2 late night hosts, Carson and Letterman. And, you know, if you were a celebrity, you had to go on either show. Otherwise, you know, you weren't going to get on. And the late shows didn't have to necessarily play nice with the guests, because what else are you going to do? So they could be confrontational. They could bring up topics that could be, you know, a little, points of contention for the guests. But for this particular moment, as a teenager, Jimmy Kimmel said, he was like, I was ready for this. I saw that Shirley MacLaine was going to be on. I was like, this is going to be gold. And I got in bed, and it was like, midnight. And I was like, I'm ready for this, and I'm ready for this. And then I wake up at 3 a.m. with a pit in my stomach, and I go, oh no, I've missed the Shirley MacLaine appearance. So now I'm actually, thanks to YouTube, here's the Shirley MacLaine appearance that I missed as well. Anyway, we're not going to take you out of the ladder. I found a ladder. We can now climb out of this rabbit hole.
Then, I want to break up the monotony a little bit. And I don't know why, but randomly I'm like, let's watch a Welcome Back, Kotter. And then Joe found a Welcome Back, Kotter that happened to be
written by Gary Shandling. And I wouldn't have known that had it not been in the episode description itself. No other episode description had the writer's name in it. It was just like, the Sweat Hogs get into a fight with a rival gang or something like this. And then this one was, Horseshack versus, I forget the character's name, like Palillo. No, that's Ron Palillo's the actor who played Horseshack. But it was some sort of like rival tough guy. And in the description, it said, written by Gary Shandling. I'm like, oh, he wrote 2 episodes or whatever of Welcome Back, Kotter. We have to watch this one. And, of course, the tough guy that Horseshack was fighting was played by Charles Fleischer, who did the voice of Roger Rabbit. He was in Back to the Future Part 2. He might have been in Used Cars as well. But you know when you see him. And it's just like, by the way, like, I think the high school students at this high school were too old for even Grease. Like, they were like, really, like, this is like Beverly Hills 90210 times 10 in as far as the age disparity between the actors and the characters they were portraying.
No, he's going to be running a little late today to the set. He's dropping his kids off at high school, and then he's going to shoot right on over to the studio,
right? Type
thing. But it was a fun field trip, and then at that point, it's like 3 a.m. Joe stayed over. Then we got up and we went to a quaint little diner in the city of Lowell. Very nice. And now we're doing this. But it was a fun night to go and see, our friend Lauren, hosting. She did a great job. That was the whole catalyst of like Joe coming over and doing that. And as far as like my stuff, I was just talking to Joe about this. I have to have my website up. I told like a booking person, it's like, okay, I'll have my website up. I have something on October 5th. And I was telling Joe, it's like, yeah, it's one of those things. I'm now getting, calls to do regular book stuff. Can't do a lot of stuff. And we'll get into it in a little bit because I went from having, looking at the notes, 0 sports kids to having 2 sports kids. And just every waking moment and even on the weekends, I have stuff. It's nice that I'm getting offered stuff. It really is. And at the same time, it's not that I'm lazy. I was, I preface that by saying it's not that I don't want to do these things. I don't want it to become a job. I don't want to go out and have a book show, 2 book shows every weekend and not have any kind of home life or life. This is a really fun hobby and I really like doing it and I like getting better at it. And I like being asked to do stuff and you can only turn so much stuff down before people won't ask you again. So, but like I said to Joe, this is why I didn't become a porn star.
Yeah. I mean, among the 23 other reasons you didn't become a porn star, one of which was a cease and desist from porn.
You're not good at this.
Right. I've never seen a porn restraining order before.
But the fact that, I don't want to become jaded or this. I don't want it to become like, I have to go do this Knights of Columbus thing in the middle of Maine on a Tuesday for but it's fun. But I will be working on that. I did, however, last week, and I've joked about it before, Joe. I finally made it.
Ah, yes, you were part of the comedy show, The Golden Toilet, the Lowell esteemed group. This is like SCTV for Lowell comedy. I don't know what this is. What is The Golden Toilet? Is it? It's a live show, right?
Well, it's a monthly live to tape show.
Oh, okay, so it's a quote unquote TV show,
studio audience and all type thing.
Like, is it at Steve Casco's level?
It is Steve Casco's level, right? But it's more like the host is great.
Katsos. That's
Steve Cantos. It's Cantos. I'm pretty sure it's Cantos.
Katsos. Oh, Siri.
So he, but this this woman runs a show, and it's a monthly thing. And I've joked about it before. It's like, oh, I can do all these places in Los Angeles, like acclaimed, famous, but I can't. I haven't got asked to do the Golden Toilet. I think it's been like 5 or 6 years it's been running. Our friend Lloyd Legacy Sharp, is now the permanent co-host or semi-permanent co-host. So it was great seeing him. But there was a comic from Baltimore on the thing. One came up from Rhode Island. There was one from Pennsylvania. So they shot 2 shows, the October and November one, and I was on the November one. So it won't be like 8-9 weeks until it's edited and out there. And it did hearken me back to our formal edition days, just being in a cable studio.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully the comedy will hold up. You know what I mean? Like, comedy changes so quickly nowadays. That dated material from 2 months ago.
Oh yeah, it's all those jokes that I have about the Model T. It's just I don't know if they will, but it was fun. So here's what's funny. You get the letter or the email that comes up before saying, hey, here's the directions, here's this. Oh, by the way, we don't censor anything. This is your comedy, where it's a safe space to be awful if you want, say what you want, this, that. And a broadcast on the cable access station. I ended up having to have Squishy with me, the 13-year-old. And I was hoping that his mom would be able to pick him up in time. Not just, I don't care if he sees anything. What's he going to see that he doesn't already hear? But it was really funny when I walk into the studio and it's like, ooh, this show, I don't know, do you know it? And I'm like, you air it on TV.
Yeah. Well, now it's a little personal. Now, you don't want to, just because kids might be watching at home doesn't mean you don't want to actually see the fucking kids watching you watch that. It's like,
And so, but
it's kind of like, you don't want to say the R word in front of an R word. You know what I'm saying? You don't want the, hey,
redheads.
Yes.
But luckily, management's was able to get him before, the taping started. So it was great. Not that, and literally
it's more about the comics being comfortable.
Right. I agree. So I didn't want to throw anybody off because it was funny in LA at the Tahoe Theater, where I did a big showcase. It's 13+ show. No one brings a 13-year-old except me. And when the first comic went up and saw him sitting in back, it was this, and I'm like, it's fine. What I mean?
He has a growth issue. He's actually 7. He's actually 22.
And plus he's not paying attention to you.
Right.
He's got his phone. He's playing the FIFA game,
He's Gen Z, baby. He doesn't give a shit. Well, actually, no, what? He's not even Gen Z. What's their generation now? Oh, no. Is there no... That's what we got to contend with, another generation besides Gen Z. Oh dear.
So so the next thing. So I've barely been able to get out once a week to do this. A schedule thing happened, and last Tuesday I was able to do it. I went to the safe, but I got there really late, knowing there'd only be a few people there, and it was kind of fun because there was a bunch of annoying people at the end of the bar being really loud. And so I just did a little something different. I just pulled up a chair, and there was a comic I like named James Hamilton sitting in front. I was literally less than a foot away from him. I'm like, I'm just going to do my comedy for you, James. And he took a picture and posted it. It's like, this is the worst yet funniest lap dance I've ever got. And then it's funny. I've said I was not going to do the ambush open mics anymore. And what that means is, these restaurants that are restaurants that all of a sudden, unbeknownst to clientele, are having a comedy show Wednesday night at 8:30. And so somebody might have gone in there the week before with a couple buddies on a Tuesday, and then it's going back there. It's like, oh yeah, that was a fun place. Yeah, this dish was great, so let's go have that. And now they're back there on a Wednesday, not knowing they're about to deal with,
Shecky Green on stage.
I wish.
Oh, please, yeah.
But like, anywhere from like 6 to 10 awful comics. And then it's like, dude, they're not the assholes talking over the comics. They didn't come to a comedy show. They came to eat dinner and talk to their friends. You're bothering them. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing those ambush shows anymore. Well, then turns out there's this nice, I didn't even know it was there, like a mile and a half away, tucked into this golf course near us, the Chateau Merrimac. It looks like a ski lodge type place. And it's like, oh, my friend James is doing a booked show there. It's a 3 comic show. And that's what I thought. And I went over, paid my $10, met another comic friend, Sean. We both like James. We're like, oh, let's go see him. Then it turns out to basically be a glorified open mic for all these other comics I know in the Lowell area. It's like, when I pay $10 to see the same people read their jokes off the phone that I just saw at the safe 2 nights earlier. It's like, now I feel like I'm ambushed type thing. But I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be more careful about going to these now too. So unless I basically know Steve Bjork. So,
yeah. And that's the only time you'll get into the Chateau Merrimac for $10.
Oh. But yeah, so I'm going to have my website up. I also am putting a website together because I decided, I was just telling Joe about this. I've been working on it with another friend of the podcast, Sam Herstick, who is our resident. What is his title?
Well, like DCU or Arrowverse.
The Arrowverse
correspondent.
A senior. I believe he is the senior
Arrowverse correspondent, which, by the way, it's now the Arrowverse is over. I mean, he's out of a job. So luckily.
Yeah, but they can do these rewatch shows.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. That's the thing now.
Right. I mean, you have the original casts doing rewatch shows of their own shows.
Which is interesting and...
I mean, a little douchey, a little high gloss, not as in-depth. I don't know. Yeah.
But
the Office Ladies podcast or Parks and Recreation or Parks and Conversation, whatever the fuck.
But Fly on the Wall is essentially
I mean, they don't
to
do
a level,
but they don't do like episode by episode rewatch. But I like Fly on the Wall. No Fly on the Wall slander here, my friend.
But yeah, and it's like, but I have to find an editor to add some clips, but we are putting together a 24-hour filmmaking contest. And
24 or 48?
24.
Ooh.
So you come in, it's going to be Thursday, December 7th. We're going to meet at mill number 5. They're giving us a space to do this. People can zoom in. We're going to cap it at 30 teams doing 6-minute films. What kind of films are they going to make, Joe?
Who knows?
That's right. Because we're going to just put a bunch of subjects in a hat and pull the subject out of the hat type thing. So that way nobody can plan.
It's kind of like the way M. Night Shyamalan picks projects now. It's like a subject in the hat, a little twist at the end.
It's a twist. And so we're I'm excited about that. So I'll be putting a couple of those things together. And
great.
Yeah, no,
it's like a little South by Southwest here.
Because the boys have so much stuff going on. There's so few projects I can get involved in that are full-time thing before getting pulled away.
It's the most ADD thing you could do is a 24-hour film festival. They go, yeah, want to write, let's go to the movies, we're going to be watching, and then we're going to go to the candy.
And so you'll have 24 hours to upload it into the Dropbox. And then so Friday night by 9:00, you have to have it submitted. And then on Saturday, we are going to have the screening and the award show.
And didn't you also say that each movie is going to have some elements that need to be included in the movie itself? Not just like it's going to be a sci-fi. You do any sci-fi movie?
Right.
No, it's like no. Like there has to be a scene in which a guy has a blue shirt, or they walk through a door, or there's a plunger or something, like some sort of like scavenger hunt.
Well, it's funny that you say scavenger hunt. So there's usually with these festivals, there's like 3 elements that you have to include in. Like this kind of prop has to be in it. It can be used as a tool to move the foist or it can just be in the background, but you have to have a shot with that. Yeah, there has to be somebody has to walk through a door wearing a blue shirt, that type. But we are, and I talked to the guy from Mill Number 5. It's like we might. So there will be judged on X number of things like creativity, this, that, the other thing. But then there will be like extra bonus points if we're going to have a scavenger hunt element where maybe you have to have a shot of a historical place in Lowell, and we'll give you a cryptic. Here's some scavenger hunt things. I'll probably reach out to 2 of the 3 or 4 owners of the record store, this little fun knick-knack store called Pop Culture. Our friend, Jenny, who owns a yoga studio there, that you have to take a picture, or it has to be a shot tied to like the scavenger hunt question that you answer. And if it's in there, an extra point. I've started to talk to the judges, and all people have been on the podcast. Our friend Ronick, who's, sold 20 TV shows. Our friend Tom Rogan, who is maybe I can see if he'd be interested, but he has a background in the arts and entertainment people, other people.
You're naming the judges now so that the contestants can reach out.
And Joe will be one of the esteemed,
very judgmental.
That's why you'd be perfect,
It stinks. Hello. Jealous.
But yeah, no, I'm super excited to have that because, we'll get into the sports things in a bit, but yeah, it just breaks up a lot of the stuff that's going on. And you know what? Yeah, we will get into the sports thing. So as I've been talking, my oldest kid is not a sports kid, has never watched a football game in his life. Like if you collectively put the times he has sat down and watched a play or drive or a highlight in the background, I haven't watched a game in a few years. So he doesn't know the name of positions, but he lives in Lowell. He goes to school in Tingsboro, but he's playing for Drake at High football.
Makes sense. Tracks.
Yep. And, but in this past week is, the ugly, the politics and all the other stuff in sports that I've been successfully able to shield them from, such as concussions. Never been a sports kid. As soon as they're into anything, we push all the chips in it. As if it's piano, guitar, whatever they've been into, we've been overly supportive for. So he wanted to do this, gave it a try, and had his first scrimmage last Saturday, and it was fun because it was only the kids from his school who are new to this, like the 14 kids and like the freshmen from this high school. So it was only 20 kids out there. But then he had his real game this past week, his first real game, and he got his number the week before. And as a fundraiser, the school had you can buy shirts and sweatshirts with your kid's name and number on it. And we, bought one for Grammy and for me and for him and a few $100s worth of this stuff. Thursday, the day of the game, he was wearing his jersey. We take pictures at the house before, and he's proud. And then he gets to the game, and he had to give that number to a kid who's not playing, but was on injury reserve. He's a big kid. They don't have a shirt for him. So now he's wearing a different number. And we're like, we just spent $400 on stuff to support this. And that
only infuriates me a lot.
And we're like, okay. It turns out, like after the game, the kid tried to bully him, and he's like, like a junior, senior, probably twice the size of my kid. And of the things I'm proudest of, he's like, no, that's my shirt. You're giving it back. he's not a tough kid at all, but he's also not a doormat. He's like be careful of the quiet ones. And so that was good. Long story short, they're getting their ass kicked. His team is getting their ass kicked. And Drake at High forfeited their first game. They didn't have enough players. There's a state requirement that says you have to have X amount of players on your roster and dressed for a game to play. There is nothing in the rule book that says an elephant can't pitch, however.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why the call went out to a couple charter schools in the area that kids from Drake could go to. Hey, please come and save this program. Well, it turns out they didn't want players to come and play. They just needed to meet that minimum requirement. And they're getting killed at this point. It's like 50-10, something crazy, or 50-12, something absolutely crazy. The only time the visiting team didn't score, is they had fumbled on the Drake at one point, and then Drake had ended up going like 3 and out, punting the ball, and then they scored on the next possession like one play later. But Drake was only playing the same 15, 16 kids on the roster. And even my 80-year-old mom noticed
both offense and defense.
Offense and defense. Total number of kids, like 15 or 16 playing. There's 11 kids on special team, 11 kids on offense, 11 players on defense, and they're using the same 15, 16 kids. At one point, when the ball would be turned over from offense to defense, 3 or 4 kids would run off and 3 or 4 kids would be on, but the line would all be the same. Oh, you're an offensive guard, now you're defensive end. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of stuff. At one point, they turned the ball over on 4 downs with like 30 seconds left in the third quarter, truly down by over 30 points. All 11 kids on offense stayed on defense, even the quarterback. And my mom, who's a pretty savvy sports person, looks at me and goes, oh, I guess they want their quarterback to get hurt. like, why is the quarterback now playing safety?
Yeah.
Like, why is that kid on the field? So finally, it's the fourth quarter. Some kid got hit on the sideline, on the far sideline of Drake, right on the sideline. And, the coaches, trainers, kind of go out, check out the kid. And then, here comes my kid. Him and another kid come trotting out on the field. I'm like, well, finally, there's only like 10 minutes left, but he's going to get. And I move to the end of the stadium and go a couple rows back so I can get the best vantage point for videotaping his play. Hold on a minute.
It turns out, funny story,
him and the other guy were sent onto the field to help that other player across the field.
Yeah.
And back. And look, all the FNH guys know, like the first game I had in juniors, we had a very long bus trip. We had a very, very long bus trip, from Boston up to Sarnia, Ontario. And the only time I got on the ice the entire game is in the second period. The goalie got a penalty. And now the rule is if you're somebody has to serve the penalty who's on the ice if the goalie gets a penalty. Back then or what, I served the penalty. So I skated across
to the penalty box,
got in the penalty box, and under coach's orders, I don't care if the puck comes this way and you're going to be on a breakaway. You get back to the bench. And I skated across the bench, and that was it. The only time my blade touched the ice, other than warm up, was to serve the goalie's penalty in the second period. But at least, I want to say Sarnia is like an 11-hour drive each way, So my heart just sank for him. But then the moment of glory. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. He comes out. The other team has the ball. It's like first and whatever.
Oh boy, 1st and 10.
And he plays, and he's not in on the tackle, but he's there. He stalemate with the person he's holding off. The run went to the other side type thing. It was good. It was just good to wait. Where's he going? Why is he coming off the field? What is happening? They took him off the field for the last 3 plays, and what's the other team took a knee? Like, you couldn't even leave him out there.
Right, exactly. Like, he wasn't good enough to be trusted to kneel down on the snap.
And when I say the other team won like 50, Drake could end up having like 20 points or something like that. After the first quarter, the other team never threw the ball again. They just, and not even running.
I don't even think they ran. I mean, I think they just walked. Right? And then one kid had a lift. Like that. I don't think that was legal.
And you noticed at halftime, oh wait, the other team is only using obviously underclassmen. Like
he's using a ladder.
They did. And So they didn't score on their fifth possession when they fumbled the ball on the one. Oh, and this is my favorite part. Okay. And then they didn't score on their last possession because they took a knee at Drake. It's 5. Like
Are they called the Drake Generals?
No,
I just want to know.
They're the middies. And it makes no sense, their logo is an anchor. Like the facility where there's a big complex where there's an elementary school, a junior high, and the high school used to be a factory that made parts for ships during World War II. And I was asking, it's like, what the hell's a MIDI? And that was explained. Anyways,
wow. Here's
my favorite part. And here's why I stopped watching the NFL. Drake is, and the 3 games that I've seen so far, nobody kicks extra points. And I think it's because nobody can. Like, nobody works to be a punter or a field goal kicker. And so they all go for 2. And at this point, the other team scores a touchdown. They're going to kick a field goal. It is, at this point in the game, it's 50-16. The extra point gets blocked by Drake. And the kid who blocked it ran 50 yards down the field celebrating like that was blocking the kick. Like, oh, if they kick this extra point, they tie the game and we go to overtime. If I block it, I win the Super Bowl. He went 50 yards down the field. At FNH,
I think he just wanted to get some exercise. Well, really, at
FNH, there's been more than a couple times where it's 11:15 at night. It's 11. I'm on a team that's winning by 6 goals or losing by 7, and I'll score a goal. And I will do that. like I will over the top do that, just to.
I love how you admit to doing that. And I remember clearly you admonishing players for showboating after making the most basic plays. Right. It's just like, come on, man. Act like you've been there before.
And that's the whole thing. It's like because I would do that to do. But this kid and management starts squeezing my leg saying, stop it. It's like, you don't know if his parents are in the stand. Like, they could be right by us. I'm like, it was inflective. It literally made me start laughing so hard. Like, I've never, because in the NFL, you would see that. It's 1st and 10 from the 35, and a lineman will make or my favorite thing is one time, Brady's going to get sacked. He just goes down. He didn't take necessary hits. And the guy
taps him on the shoulder.
Taps him. And literally started doing the King Kong, pounding his chest, taking 5-yard strides downfield, like these big strong, and
the big stomps, yeah.
And then I remember Brady gets up, looks down, threw the ball right at his position next play. It turned out to be a 15-yard pickup. It's you're celebrating a stop. But in this case, it was all the politics. And then there's 14 kids from his school. 10 of them didn't play a down at all. And 2 of them, like him, played a play or 2. And then there's one player who's 6'12", and he's as wide as he's tall, who's played a few plays.
But if they miss a practice, God have mercy on their souls.
Yeah, and it's just this, they did. They made a big deal about kids coming late to practice. There's no bus from his school there. This just dropped it over their lap. We're saving your program, and you're giving kids a hard time because they're showing up to 4:45 instead of 4:30. And I even said to, the person who runs the program, I'm like, why are you making 15-year-olds who don't have their license or access to get here any other way to save your program a hard time,
I'm baffled that they're even allowing kids, there's no age. This is a varsity football team. Right. There's no age restriction or any sort of regulation, even the minor thing. Okay, at least not have freshmen playing on varsity, regardless of their physicality. Right. But I don't know. They just needed, like you said, Johnny Bravos to fit the suits.
That's it. And it's and so now he's yeah, I don't know if I really want to keep doing this.
As soon as the one crack in the armor is shown, he's just oh, you know what? I'm out. That's enough.
And that's the thing. It's he doesn't mind all the thing. And it was one of those things we talked on the way home, and he said, it's if it was 24-20, It's a close game. Don't play anybody. I get that. He understands earning your spot. He understands you just joined. He understands he doesn't know all the names of all the positions. And so he understands that. But at this other point, it's like, we're just practice dummies at practice. And that was the one thing. It's like there was a couple kids who are tough guys at practice who like kind of play a little beyond the whistle. The toughness wasn't there against the other team. It's like
they weren't bringing that 110% attitude with them when it counted.
Oh, just when you're going up against freshmen from no school who've never played before, you're a tough guy.
Yes.
It's like, okay, all right. But that was the whole thing. It's like when you're losing 50 to 20 and they've been using their third string since the first quarter and you
still got to run through the bag. You still gotta go out there and play like it's a tie game or nothing, whatever.
So but enough of my stuff. You had a field trip with your kid this week.
Oh yes, that's right.
At the I don't know if you would say on behalf of, but your other son made this whole thing happen.
My older son is working at Blue Man Group in Boston. If you don't know who Blue Man Group is, welcome to Earth. And also, might I direct you to the Arrested Development sketch where Tobias Funke decides to join Blue Man Group, played by the great David Cross. Classic sketch. Anyway, so he wasn't working this weekend, but they did offer him comp tickets for like 4 guests. So I invited Jacques. He bold-facedly told me, go fuck myself. So I did. And then after I was finished, I decided to ask my younger son if he wanted to bring a friend. And he did. So it was my 2 sons and my younger son's friend and I. Wife couldn't make it because...
She told you to go fuck yourself.
Yes, and which I did. And I was like, wow, a twofer. Twice in one day. But no, you know what it is? You can sit in areas where there's like... You're not in the splash zone because Blue Man Group is very audience interactive and, men drenched in latex paint will come on and possibly touch you. My wife has an allergy to latex, among the other annoying allergies. Yes. And all allergies are annoying. I'm sorry. If you have an allergy, you are annoying and this will never change. No, but so she said, no, you go. So we went, and it was a fine show. I've never seen Blue Man Group ever. They are a staple in the Boston area now. They've been at the Charles Playhouse since probably 97 or 5 or 1 or whenever the hell they started.
Whenever they took over for, what was the toilet paper one?
Huh?
The people who had like the machine.
Like what? Mummenschanze. Right?
Thank you.
Mummenschanze, yeah, that was what they made fun of that on. Chris Elliott made fun of that on David Letterman way back in the 80s. Mummenschanze. Jesus Christ. I didn't know about Mummenschanze until I saw that Chris Elliott bit on David Letterman 10 years ago.
Oh, the commercials were endless on like LVI, yeah.
Like Channel 56 and stuff? Oh, yeah, I just blocked those. You know what? If it wasn't a Tom and Jerry cartoon, I was out. I was watching something else. But in any case... Yeah, no, it was actually the debut of their latest iteration of Blue Man Group show. Like they've made tweaks and updates and stuff to their show. And it was a fun experience. I also kind of felt like a bit of a throwback. I think the audience was into it. They were, affable and, up for a good time. But it felt like that sort of audience interaction was maybe more novel back in the 90s than it is now. Like now I think everybody's a star now because of social media. Everybody's used to being on or interactive, or they insist upon themselves in certain situations, like where they make themselves the star. So the attention you get from these, from Blue Man Group now as an audience member is sometimes less special. I don't know, but it was fun. But they knew exactly like who, like the demographic of the people who they were going to bring out for certain events. Like they play out the scenarios out on stage, and yeah, it was just, it's good time. I think Connor, my older son, kept some toilet paper that they, because they have the colored toilet paper. And, and as it was coming out of the ceiling, I was like, oh, they didn't have any of this in the men's room. The toilet paper. Hey-ho. It was a fun time. And, I'm glad I went. And now he can quit the job and go back to, he'll be working this week and earning a living, goddammit. It was a fun time. And, maybe next time if we get some more comp tickets.
I won't tell you to fuck yourself.
No.
Oh, I will, but I'll still go.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly right.
Speaking about everybody wanting to be a star. Yeah. Circling back to the comedy show we went to last night. I don't remember him. I couldn't see the person heckling. Could you see the person heckling?
Was that a heckle?
There was a guy so we sat, stage right.
In the far corner.
Like seriously,
in a booth.
We could see the comic's ass more than you could the face. We're kind of parallel with them, but just a little.
Just behind their line of sight.
And on the same side, on the other side, there was a guy. And what was he yelling? Him. And he did it kind of as a laugh at one point and then did again. And it threw Steve for a second. And he kind of like, oh, what were you saying?
And he said it right before a punchline.
Right.
At one point.
It was, I have this on the rundown. It was perfectly timed Baba Booey almost. Steve calls it out. And then you can see this is a 30-plus year professional touring comic who also has a moment of that might be a medical thing, and he asks,
"He's like, if it's a medical thing, I won't bother you the rest of the night. Is it a medical thing? It's a medical thing. Okay. Hey, you know what? I'm sorry. Enjoy the rest of the show." And then he goes back and he goes, "Yeah, I won't lie. That kind of shook me. He kind of got a little flustered, but then he regrouped and went right back into the routine. But it was weird.
And then the guy did it a few more times.
Yeah. Did he do it for other?
Yeah.
Comics?
And then no, I think he might have.
Did he stop after Steve?
I think he might have. Well, it's funny.
Oh, did he leave?
So when I took the Mike Katrober's class, the hosting class, I guess there's a term inside this industry, and Steve didn't say it, but maybe if somebody is being like that, you can say, oh, I'm not going to bother you yesterday. Hey, can we get this guy a Coke? That's code to get him out of here. Throw him out without calling attention to it, without making a big deal. That's the polite way. And so that's the phrase that has been going on in clubs for absolutely everything. It's like, hey, can we get my friend a Coke over here? Yeah. Kind of diffuses it, whatever. But yeah, then afterwards we find out, no, it wasn't a medical thing. He was just being an asshole.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what Steve was saying when he came over and stuff like that.
I was well behind. I got my wallflower position. When you and Steve get talking, I get a drifting. Oh. I fade into the background like Homer Simpson into the bushes.
And it's funny that is the best meme ever. Best meme ever. Mets fans at the 7th inning. For a second I'm like, oh, the friend we brought. It's like, yeah, having the apps and stuff haven't worked out, and Steve's whole routine is like, yeah, who wants to date this thing? It's like, maybe I'll introduce them, type thing. But it was a fun night. But when you said the Blue Man period, everyone wants to, be part of it. So Joe, you don't have like a big backyard, but there's a backyard there.
Barely.
Could you
No.
could you house, if you had to, like a stealth fighter in your backyard?
If you could, you wouldn't see it.
Because turns out we're missing one.
Oh.
Have you heard about this?
No.
The Pentagon is putting flyers on telephone poles around the DC area. They have a missing, I think it's like an F-35. I've heard conflicting stories, $80 million or $100 million stealth fighter.
Last seen over which country that we're not so happy with?
It's one of those things where, took off from an Air Force base stateside and seen.
Right.
So on one hand,
Is there an app like, Find My Fighter?
I don't know if they put an AirTag in it. It's like $100 million fighter didn't have the extra $35 for the Apple, which, by the way, management's work key. She has a car for the family. She works for a car, and there's an AirTag on it. It's really interesting. Your phones will ding,
and they'll say that something's been tracking you for the past. Well, they kind of have to because hey, people have been using that to track women.
But right, or me. Don't you know what I mean?
Well, you've been using it to track women.
Yes, thank you. but yeah, it's like I'll be sitting on the couch and she'll pick up her purse to go to work, and I'll get the text message. There's an air tracker moving near you. Like, oh, that's
right. It's coming from inside the house.
But yeah.
So the F-35.
They're missing one. It's been missing, and it's been missing for a little bit now.
Let me guess, $1,000 reward.
But I love the "Have you seen me?" Answers to the name Smitty. It's like, but it
likes rubs on bellies.
What's funny is, and none of the news stories I've seen, it's like, yeah, it took off. And this and the pilot haven't been seen. It's like, we don't care about the pilot.
Right. Golly.
But they cannot find a missing $100,000.
Well, hey.
100 million. Sorry, either 80 million or 100 million.
I guess it works.
So that's the upside. That's the good takeaway.
Right. Well,
glass half full.
Right. Hey, how did Wonder Woman ever find her invisible plane? Like, did she have one of those little whoop, whoop? And
just the brilliance of it looks like she's taking a dump in the sky.
Right. She's like, it doesn't cover her when she gets into the plane. It's just that she's in an invisible plane. So she's just a woman in the sitting position floating through air.
And she flies.
Right.
Right. I was rewatching the Justice League series.
It's like giving Superman a helicopter.
Right. But I was watching the Justice League Unlimited series from 2003.
Great series.
Like a boss.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a whole thing where Flash is doing commercials and they're kind of embarrassing the rest of Justice League. I was like, yeah, but I brought this sweet van in Green Lantern's. It's like, why do you need a van? Like the whole thing. And it's like, yeah, he has a van. He's like, we can do a road trip. It's like, Green Lantern can fly. You can run faster than the speed of light. You can run so fast you can travel through time, right. But you need the A-Team's van.
Well, what if he wants to play PlayStation?
I get it. So we're only going to talk politics for a second because will the government shutdown affect this podcast?
I hope so.
Okay.
Please. Oh, Lordy, I hope that the shutdown affects this podcast.
I just heard the governor of Arizona is going to be enacting, and a governor of Arizona, like 2 governors ago during another shutdown, is enacting a very small, hardly known law where she can appropriate state lottery money to keep the Grand Canyon open. Well, the Grand Canyon will always be open. You can't, national.
Well, until they run out of landfill.
Oh, that's true. That is true. But to pay for like the tourism parks and stuff like that to stay open because that's their big touristy thing. That's all they got.
Yep.
They ain't got a Vegas. They ain't got, all this other shit. So she's like doing that. But yeah. And the great thing, and by great thing, I mean the horrible thing is probably the worst 20 people that our country has is leading the charge. We're talking the kind of people who can't go to local theater and let a pregnant woman sitting next to them enjoy a show without giving a hand job while vaping
and singing along,
at least recording the show.
Yeah.
Which can't vape inside.
Right.
Shouldn't vape, period. But next to a pregnant woman who politely asks you to stop, you can't tape somebody's performance. Like, that's all illegal. I don't know in the state of Colorado if giving handies in a theater is.
I know. Alanis Morissette sang about going down in a theater.
Yeah, that's true. But she's Canadian.
That was Canadian. True.
She's from Vancouver.
That's right. And it was Dave Coulier. How do you resist that?
That's the best. That's the best, the absolute best part of that story.
But this is far cry from Alanis Morissette or Dave Coulier. We're talking about Lauren Boebert of Colorado.
My favorite thing that I've heard about this situation is like, somebody's like, I didn't imagine that she's the go to theater type. And somebody said, oh, she wasn't. Somebody in the theater said Boebert 3 times. And she appeared at the Beetlejuice taping.
You know what? It's so funny because she did everything wrong. And then she did everything that you would expect a politician on the Republican side to do when they get called out for bad behavior. They immediately get blame the Democrats. Because that's what she did. She went on. She was there on a date with a man who, by the way, owns bars that host drag nights, apparently. But the boyfriend was a Democrat, and of course, you know, after she was called out for her bad behavior at the club or at the show, she said, "That's the last time I dated a Democrat."
So she has 5 kids, and it doesn't matter.
And
if you
one grandkid.
It doesn't matter if you have 1 kid or 10 kids. You have a right to get out and see the house. So I don't like doing the whole, you know, it's like, why wasn't she home with her kids thing? But who had her grandkid? She's 36 or 37 and has a grandkid.
Right.
So she had her first kid at 16 or 17.
Somebody 17.
And then her oldest had a kid at 16.
Yeah.
Family value. So,
well, you're right.
So she's one of those Bible thumping family value type people.
Well, at least they didn't get an abortion.
That's true.
So you know what? Sticking to it.
Sticking to it. But yeah, grandmother at 37 giving hand jobs. Now, granted, there are some people in tough situations who might be 37, 5 kids who kind of have to, you know, are trying to make ends meet. But yeah, everything about that. And that's one of the 20 people who are going to shut down the government. That and Matt Gaetz, who, you know, I don't know how with the Venmo transaction of here's the money to bring the under 18 girl from one state to another so I can fuck her, is not in jail, let alone getting to shut down the government. Anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, you know, that Lauren Boebert, she's a fun girl. I gotta say, yeah. I gotta say, there's something about like those images was just like, man, she's a despicable, dirty girl. It's just like, I don't want her making any sort of legislative decisions for our government at all. But she looks like she likes to have fun.
I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, it's not. When you hear the QAnon conspiracies that it's like, that's not really Biden. That's about the guy who they're changing the laws for so he can wear his sweatshirts.
Oh, Fetterman?
Fetterman had to come out and say, no, I'm not a body double. I'm really Fetterman. Like, and it wasn't like QAnon online people doing it. It's Congress people saying that's not the real Fetterman. That's a body double, you know, filling in for him right now because he's an invalid at home. It's like, so he had to, you know, address those things. But yeah, it's like, it's not one of those crazy conspiracy things. She was a sex worker, you know. Now, whether Ted Cruz was really a client of hers or not, that's, I don't know if has been substantiated, but it's substantiated that she was a sex worker. And I don't say that like in a bad way or looking down, but it's like, yeah, this is the family value person who met her husband when he was arrested and did a little stint at the Gray Bar Hotel for showing his penis to underage girls at a bowling alley. Her ex-husband or in the process of it. But yeah, those are the people who are deciding whether, you know, grandma's getting her Social Security check next month. And scene. Now, do you up for doing a self-indulgent theater, doing white and nerdy?
All right, so what am I going to just pull up this white and nerdy on karaoke and sing it?
And sing it.
As what, like a Bernie Sanders or...
Oh, Bernie be good.
The whole thing is Bernie.
White and nerdy. You know what? You want to mix in some of my other favorite voices? You go right ahead.
This is gonna suck, but
so, right. Yes, but it's going to be awesome.
It'll be our sucking. All right, well, let's see how it goes.
They see me mowing my front lawn. I know they're all thinking I'm so white and nerdy. Think I'm just too white and nerdy. Think I'm just too white and nerdy. Can't you see I'm white and nerdy? Look at me, I'm white and nerdy. I want to roll with the gangsters. And so far, they all think I'm too white and nerdy. Think I'm just too white and nerdy. Think I'm just too white and nerdy. I'm just too white and nerdy. Really, really white and nerdy. First of my class here at MIT. Got skills, I'm a champion in DMD. MC, yeah, sure, that's my favorite MC. Keep it 40, I'll just have an Earl Grey tea. My rims never spin, to the contrary. You'll find that they're quite stationary. All of my action figures are cherry. Stephen Hawking's in my library. My MySpace page is all totally pimped out. Got people begging for my top 8 spaces. Yo, I know pie to 1,000 places. Ain't got no grills, but I still wear braces. I order all my sandwiches with mayonnaise. I'm a wizard minesweeper. I can play you for days. And once you're sweet booze, you'll see what made me. Because moves so fast, like the places and don't kill a rap I haven't run. At Pascal, well, I'm number 1. Do vector calculus just for fun. I ain't got a gap, but I got a soldering gun. Happy Days is my favorite theme song. I'll sure kick a butt in the game of ping pong. I'll quiz some trivia quiz you bring on. I'm fluent in JavaScript as well as Klingon.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
And, all right, on a fun note, what are you doing gaming-wise over at the NEW-Seum?
What am I doing gaming-wise? Well, I went through my Sega Master System story last time. You've seen the new NEW-Seum. Honestly, nothing that I could deem worthy enough to bore this audience or any audience with. I've been, just kind of mostly just watching YouTube stuff, watching and downloading episodes of Price is Right from 1982 through 1985.
Yeah, before we went to see the Steve Bjork, Lawrence Sims show, we watched about 2 hours, hour and a half.
An hour.
Yeah,
I think one episode. I only put you through one episode.
Oh, yeah, but you showed me a bunch of amazing clips.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. So, yes, an hour and a half's worth of Price is Right, which I was sick last week. And which is why I wasn't on the podcast or sideshow last week with Lauren. But so I got sick basically Friday night, and then I kind of got better Monday morning. So my entire weekend was ruined. But I did feel extra nostalgic because not only was I sick in bed, I was sick in bed watching The Price is Right, almost exclusively because of that 24-hour channel that's on Pluto TV for The Price is Right. And you get the Drew Carey era as well. And they were like, I think I bounced around. I went from Family Feud Classic to Price is Right Barker era to maybe a little Hollywood Squares 2003 Tom Bergeron, mixed it up. So yeah, nothing like being sick at home where you're just like, yeah, you know what? I'm usually a dumb person, but now I'm going to be extra dumb and turn the brain all the way off and just try to guess on how much that Cadillac from 1985 is worth.
You were so much closer than I was.
Because I had been boning up on my
I
1983
think I said 30,000. You're like, no, that's 1785. I don't know if it has the option of the power windows.
Right.
Which completely sidebarred, aside from nothing. I don't know how it came up in conversation. Doesn't matter. I asked Joe the really thoughtful, probing, maybe a little invasive question last night leaving the comedy club. Has your oldest son ever been in a car that have windows that you manually roll down?
No, I don't think he's been kidnapped yet. I don't think.
I don't know how that came up, but we were talking about something. I'm like, okay, so he's 23. There's a really good chance the answer is no. He's not been in a car where the windows roll down, like manually roll down.
Right.
So
no, I can't imagine. No, he doesn't know a world without internet, nor does he know a world where you use a crank to roll down a window in a car.
He does know his father's love, and that's what's really important. Gaming for me, haven't touched a game in months.
Good for you.
Months. However, my oldest kid, what time did he come out of his hovel? Like 2 a.m. last night.
Yeah.
All excited that Resident Evil 4 just has its long awaited, like a year in the making
VR update, right?
You can play Ava. You can play the game, the Ava walkthrough.
Oh, so the remake
Right.
is now you can play as Ava.
Like Ava pops up in the story a couple times, and but now you see her whole story, which is great, which is always a fan
I thought you were
favorite.
mentioning because there's a VR version of Resident Evil 4.
The VR version of Resident Evil 4 last year when it came out was not the game of the year, was not the best Resident Evil game. It was, by every magazine, every aficionado, every critic, the best virtual game, the best VR game available on the Oculus was Resident Evil 4. I couldn't play it. I could not have
scary.
It is. Yeah. It's too immersive. And also, with the motion.
Yeah, because people do get sick. I get motion sick playing first person shooters for 2 hours. I'll be like, maybe take a break here.
I remember when Batman was my thing. The Batman will always be my thing, just to preface that. But when the Batman Arkham game came out, I was like, little guy's born 2006, 2007. And I'm played it a lot back in LA. We came here to visit my parents or visit whatever. My parents have a very big screen TV. And I didn't realize. I was one day, I was just playing. I was just not feeling good. I don't get sick. And then it was and then somebody told me, it's like, oh yeah, you're not it's motion sickness because of you got to push your cart to the other side of the room and you can play it because you're used to a 24-inch TV and then you're this far away. And now you're playing on a 72-inch TV.
Yes. Right.
And I was like, holy shit, I'm that sensitive that I got motion sickness.
It happens to a lot of people. Yeah, it happens to a lot of people. I remember playing, there's a Doom-like Star Wars game that came out in the 90s called Dark Forces. And it's fun. It's a fun game. Very good. But there's a lot of levels where you're in the sewers or you're in a kind of a brownish, dark, dank, musty environment, and you're meandering, and sometimes you get turned around. Mm-hmm. It's not linear, and then you're jumping and you're going from multiple levels up and down and side to side, and I'm like, oh boy, I got to turn this off and play some Mario or maybe read a book or something or close my eyes. I can't take this level anymore.
You mentioned 3 options. There was only 2. There was only 2.
I hide my money in the third. Or my wife hides her money. Never mind.
I can't. No. So that was that. So I might check in on that and give that a try. So now we're getting into sports, and we don't talk sports very much. We're going to talk sports a little bit, maybe not for an hour, but let's get into it. I don't follow any sports.
All right.
I follow. I had 0 sports kids a few months ago, and now I have 2.
Sorry.
Every single day from 2 to 9 p.m. Honestly, I go through 2 tanks of gas now, never traveling more than 15 miles. But I don't follow sports. I haven't seen a football game 3 years. It's been 3 years since I've watched an NFL game. I mean, at all. I don't even know if the Pats won or lost the other day. I wish the best, but I haven't watched a baseball game since 2012. I never will. A Major League Baseball game. But for all my friends and family who love the Sox, I hope they do well. If I hear that the Red Sox miss the playoffs by 20 games, it doesn't affect me. If I hear the Yankees miss the playoffs by 21 games, it brings great joy to me. I don't follow anything, but there are these constants. The schadenfreude of, and again, it's petty. I get it. I see it. I see the world different now, being in recovery of sports, being in recovery. But to hear the Aaron Rodgers,
oh yes,
dude, I don't know another way to say this other than delicious. I think, because I will be feasting on this for months to come. Oh, and it's not like I didn't like Peyton Manning before. I loved Peyton Manning because he beat our team in big games. Or I hated the fact that people thought he was better than the guy that we liked, but he wasn't rich, white, conservative guy from the South, probably, but I didn't know. He wasn't open about his politics, all
wasn't
this.
problematic.
But Aaron Rodgers has gone so far out of his way the last 5 or 6 years.
Particularly the last two.
Particularly the last two. But he went through this holding the team hostage a couple times before, and then look, he replaced what's his face, Brett Favre. And Brett Favre had held the Packers hostage for a couple years. I'm retiring. I'm not. And so, so Aaron Rodgers has kind of been a dick to a city that's been nothing but great to him and the franchise. So I didn't ever since COVID. Ever since, COVID, he has just been a complete douche, and then goes to the Jets. They're the team on Hard Knocks, and there's this one celebration dance, and I didn't watch Hard Knocks. I'm not going to watch it, but it circled through the media where
HBO's Hard Knocks.
Him and his receiver do this there where they chest bump and then do this high five thing and then look like they smoke a joint. Like that's their dance that they do. I'm like, you're just a douche, big COVID denier, big all this stuff. I'm not sure if my favorite thing is because the day of the game was September 11th. It's tough to see another Jet go down on September 11th. That was one joke. But my favorite fact is that he hosted more episodes of Jeopardy that he took snaps of the ball for the New York Giants,
Jets.
To the New York Jets. Right? Yeah, he took 5 snaps if you can count his Achilles as one of the 5 snaps. 4 plays in. Now, granted, 2007.
I blame the flag that he was carrying.
Oh, everything about that, the legitimate flag waving, the absolute, and again, 2007, the Patriots lose the undefeated season, and that was awful. And then the first possession the next year, Brady, is the one injury he had. So he had to sit with that loss for 18, 20 heartbreaking months, but this is him. And somebody had said, I was listening to it. Wait, don't tell me. Somebody had said all the, what is the horse medicine that people were taking? I'm not
Ivermectin?
taking. Yeah, so I'm not taking this COVID thing. That's not tested. But he's like, yeah, his doctor Joe Rogan had prescribed so much ivermectin that when he broke his Achilles heel, he had to put him down. And I don't feel bad about. First of all, it's the most Jets thing.
I think that's what makes it so great is that it happened to Aaron Rodgers, couldn't happen to a shittier guy. And the Jets, who just can't stop fucking up. It's so glorious. It's like, you know what? Finally, we're just going to throw money at the situation. We're just going to throw money at it. We're going to buy our goddamn championship. We're going to get, you know what? Was it 2 years guaranteed?
Yeah.
2 years, $75 million guaranteed. Aaron Rodgers, 38, 37. How old is he?
Yeah, he's 37, 36, 30.
Yeah. Late 30s guy, he had injuries in the past, whatever. And, but we're gonna put our money on this horse tranquilizer.
We're gonna buy our way past 9 and 7, not a championship.
Right.
Let's be real. Aaron Rodgers has won 1 Super Bowl.
Okay.
But you're right. We're going to solve this problem.
Right. They tried with the Mark Sanchez, didn't quite work out. And just it's so amazing, how 4 plays, 4 plays. And by the way, so it was I didn't watch the game. So they obviously got a first down on those. Okay. It's not like they left him in and went for him on 4th down.
No.
It was, yeah.
Oh, just everything about it is great. No.
Achilles heel.
Oh, who thought that Aaron Rodgers would be the Jets' Achilles heel? Copyright card for personal.
Please. Copyright internet.
But yeah, that, and I guess it's funny because I put this on the rundown. I didn't know yelling Baba Booey was still a thing, and you told me in the golf world, oh, it's a thing.
Yeah, they've been doing it for years, even pre-COVID. That Howard would keep. I guess it's probably been going on for about maybe I want to say almost 10 years now, where they would have the Masters or the U.S. Open or whatever, and then they have, they'd have televised moments where they would swing, immediately after the swing. Like if you say something during the swing, you're going to get your ass handed to you and you're going to get tossed the fuck out. And I don't know, maybe they do after they yell Baba Booey, but after a swing, they'll have guys on the sideline yelling Baba Booey and like almost like THX quality sound, like you feel like you're on the green with these guys. And yeah, no, it's a thing. And they're actually like PGA guys who've like won tournaments who are Howard Stern fans, and they'll give out a Baba Booey at the end of it. So yeah, that's still a thing. It's still going strong. It keeps the Baba Booey name alive, which is always good. Lest we forget, of course, the infamous Baba Booey moment, the quintessential Baba Booey moment from 1994, the O.J. Simpson Icy O.J. call, when Peter Jennings took a call from a Mr. Higgins, who was on the scene of the Ford Bronco chase or at the right outside the Brentwood home. And he calls in to ABC News and he says, look at here. Now I see OJ and he be looking scared. And I would be scared too, because there are cops all dicked in this place. Thank you, Mr. Higgins. And a Baba Booey to y'all.
How long was he on the air and how desperately was Al Michaels trying to get through?
He was on the air for about with Peter Jennings for about 30 seconds. Like it was a back and forth, and it was a good 30 seconds. And it was a very clean call. Like it was just like nothing dirty, nothing too dirty, and a Baba Booey to y'all. The perfect call. Perfect. Like just like
use a different phrase. We don't go. It was a perfect call.
Oh, it was a perfect call. It was it was beautiful. It was clutch. It was a walk-off home run.
Yeah.
It was everything that you wanted it to be. And then Al Michaels.
So there was a home run of the natural, actually.
Yes.
What it was.
And then seemingly like within the next 15 seconds, you hear Al Michaels, who was with ABC Sports at the time, calling in, and he goes, I think he might have been in the booth or something. Or nearby or something. And he was on the phone and he goes, oh, by the way, Peter Jennings, this is Al Michaels calling. I just wanted to let you know that was a totally farcical call. Lest anyone think he was actually on the site. He said something at the end there in code that was indicative of the mentioning of a certain radio host. Thank you, Al. It will not be the first nor the last time we'll have been had. So anyways, that's your little trip down memory lane. The greatest Baba Booey call of all time. Look it up. ICOJ, you will not be disappointed.
So, talking about golfers still, I have always had a pretty fun life. It's hard to say there's something more enjoyable in my life than picking up our friend John and driving to F&H, the parking lot, and driving home. Those moments, 10 years of that, just time capsule great. Writing comedy with you throughout the years, there's been so many moments where just pure happiness. Comedy camp in 97, 90.
Yeah, 96. Oh God.
Just the best. There was these moments jamming, with the band, especially with Dan, where it's just leave the body euphoric. I can go on. I didn't even mention children or breasts, but nothing competes to the joy I have. It seems where I've lived in my life, to get from point A to point B routinely takes me by golf courses. Nothing in this world gives me joy like beeping my horn. It's like there's a golf course less than a mile here that I pass every day, at least twice a day, to and from my boys' school, where you go by 3 or 4 holes, and some are it is where the tee off, and some are where it's the putting. And most of the time, like I'll just beep and they're setting up a shot. But when somebody's about to putt or is on the backswing of a drive and you do it, I've been doing it my entire life. And when, like, sometimes people will just wave or laugh. Sometimes people will yell. Somebody since our last podcast recording, threw a golf ball. Like, an older fat fucker wasn't anywhere near me. And I'm like, but just that they got that. And it wasn't the guy who I was trying to bother. It was like one of his friends must have had the ball in his hand and threw it. That's it. That's it. I wish something else in my life. Doing comedy, watching my kids' sports, I'd say having sex. I'm married for 20 years. Who am I kidding? Porn. I wish something out there. No, I don't. I'm fine. I'm fine because I found my thing that brings me pure happiness. And when you were mentioning the Baba Booey thing, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not. And look, I'm not doing it for Howard Stern or anybody. This is me. This is just for me.
Right. I think one might actually would have been better, and it was of a certain time period. Maybe this would have been something that you would do in the 2000s, is bring an air horn.
Right.
That
right.
So, wing! Like one of those things. Oh man.
But I hate golf.
I hate the people who play it even more.
Why do you ask?
I'm just not good at small talk, you prick.
But I do. And I pointed out to the boys years ago, it's like, and one of those, why do you hate golf so much? It's like, look at all this space. It's all for a handful of rich white people. Apologies to All-Star Tommy. I know you're feeling seen.
And future me.
And future you. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the thing. People always assume, oh, you play hockey, you play golf. No, right. I don't.
They have similarly shaped sticks.
I
mean, that's George Carlin routine. It's just like, he's talking about homeless people. It's like, first of all, he's like, we got to change the word homeless people because these motherfuckers need houses. They need tangible, livable spaces. And you know what? I have two solutions for them. Golf courses and cemeteries. Yeah.
And they're both waste of space.
Yes.
But that gives me the greatest joy of all the fun things, the travel I get to do, the sports I get to see, the friends I have, and either somebody in the car with me or just me alone. Just I will never know these people. They will never know me, but the joy that I get ruining a putt.
It's kind of like saying, it's like, why does your management do her nails before a concert that she's going to alone for herself?
Yep.
Why do you honk at douchebags that are just trying to get through the 30th year of retirement?
And again, I have good friends who golf, so I don't want you to take this personally, but I hate you in golf.
Right. Yeah.
So we're wrapping it up here. You watching anything fun?
Fun. Define fun. I mean, I'm watching. Honestly, I'm like one of these damn millennials. I'm watching a lot of YouTube. I'm watching like, I'm a nerd, as you know. I'm a video game nerd, and I'm also like a tinkerer. Like I'm getting into like video game console repairing and refurbishing. But like now there's like a video series of like somebody cleaning out like dirty consoles, and it's one of those satisfying things, like like you're watching like a rehab of like, man, look at this dusty old thing. It's even got like some cockroaches in there. We're gonna clean this shit out and we're gonna refurbish this and get this thing working again. Most satisfying 15 minutes I could spend just like watching somebody tear down to its like bare bones a Sega Genesis from 1992, cleaning it out, then, scrubbing it, putting it all back together, and you're showing the before and after, plugging it in, putting a game in, watching it play, and just like, it was destined for the landfill, but now it can be salvaged and reused. And then also like it educates me into like, oh, well, I have all these shitty systems. Some of them don't quite work. Some of them I have refurbished. You actually gifted me a Wii U one time. I took it apart. The gamepad didn't work, and all it was there's a little ribbon cable in the back that came loose, and I just plugged it back in. Oh, yeah, fantastic. And then like I fixed it. But I refurbished like one of the PS3s that you sent me. I kind of got that working again. So things like that bring me joy. Watching those little rehab videos.
No, that's again when you find the thing that makes you happy. That's not hurting anybody,
right?
Maybe I bother people with the people, but nobody, you know what I mean? Nobody's like, but at the same time.
I've given up watching snuff films. Yes, That was the old me.
See, I had that in one of my routines, and I don't think enough people knew what a snuff film was. I would say,
Is that the Family Guy when they're all sitting around? Is that guy gonna kill that girl? Shh, Peter, we're trying to watch the movie.
I would have the routine. If we're being honest, that's what comedy's all about. Every Make-A-Wish kid's wish is to not die, and most people, I get the groan. It's like, oh, I can't believe he's gonna. Hear me out. What if somebody wants to be in a snuff film? But not enough people knew what a snuff film was, so I haven't really used that one as of late.
I mean, putting a kid in a snuff film is a bridge too far for me, sir. A bridge too far.
Bill Hicks used to have a bit like that about like using people on hospice care, putting them in as stunt doubles. It's like, it's like, why is my grandma dressed up as a mugger? Shut up. Just push her towards Chuck Norris. Oh my God, he kicked Grammy's head off. But what a scene. Don't tell me you love movies. And so it's kind of akin to that. No, but
right.
I get that.
That's what we need to do. Bring snuff films back. We need Snuff Awareness Month. Enough of this autism awareness. We get it. Yes, breast cancer. We see you. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. What was that guy the gluten guy last night? It's like, yeah, we did the DNA test. It turns out like
48% in your imagination.
Allergy that my wife has completely made up.
Shit.
No, but I definitely get. Now we're not watching anything really because management the last few weeks has had a lot of travel, a lot of work, some work travel. I've been doing shows like real things, and there are these the tiniest windows. Ahsoka Tano has been top 3 Jedi for me for 10 plus years. Like even before, season 4 of Star Wars Rebels. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole. But the one non-Kurt Vonnegut book I think I've read in the last 20 years, and I'm not kidding, the one non-Kurt Vonnegut book I've read in the last 20 years is this Ahsoka Tano book that took place between Clone Wars and Rebels. It's great. We're only 2 up. Oh, and Rosario Dawson, one of my favorite actresses ever since, Daredevil season 1. I mean, I've loved her in like 10 different series. She's great. She's always great as a person, as a follow. Her boyfriend is her long-term boyfriend, Cory Booker.
Yeah,
the congressperson from New Jersey. She's great. We're only 2 episodes in. 2 of 6. I think the whole series is out. We haven't started Murders in the Building. Where there's another series that we love. I can't think of it right now. So literally she's been away the last couple of weekends. She goes away, you come over, but there's only shows we can watch together.
Yep.
And so that's why it's like, really, you're watching Justice League again? It's like, it's on in the background. I'm making the boys dinner. I'm doing this.
Yeah,
I'm doing that.
You're in a holding pattern for all the new shit that you want to watch because certain people aren't around to watch it with you.
And after 20 years, and I haven't made this into a bit officially yet, but I've talked about it with people. And the truth is, management can come home. I can be having an affair. It's pretty bad. I Netflix cheat on her.
Grounds for divorce.
It's over.
Yeah.
Like we can work through. Look, I can just say, but look at her boobs. I mean, come on, it's like I'm in the wrong here. I get it, but come on. There'd be a moment of understanding. I think we could work past it. But let's say I had not waited to watch the rest of Miss Maisel with her.
Right. You wouldn't be here today.
We want to be divorced. She'd be in prison. And, well, I don't know if she'd be in prison. I also don't know if they would find the body.
Right.
so
there is all those woods back behind your house there that go untouched.
And there are coyotes. You know what I mean? I mean, Karen Baskin's situation there.
Carol Baskin, she did it.
She did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really, and my heart of hearts, pretty sure pretty sure that would fall. Like she would not be able that bridge too far type thing. So no, I'm not really watching things except my same old stuff, over and over. You got a parenting tip?
I would say if you have a child, an adult child who is finding their way in the world today, making how's the phrase going? Cheers, making your way in the world today.
It takes everything you got.
That's true. But taking a break from all your worries sure would help.
It would help a lot.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like
to get away?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, if you're going to have an adult, if you have an adult child who is trying to find their way and just kind of entering the workforce, lead them to a path of work in which you could get comp tickets to the show that they work on. A little fringe benefit, a little something for daddy. You know what I'm saying? A little back pay for all the years of sacrifice you made. You got to get some return on your investment.
Look, I'm not asking you to start chipping in rent, but there's an opening at the Wilbur.
Right. Bill Burr will be playing there in November. I need you. Yeah. So yeah, I would say it, it's kind of like when you're rearing your children earlier, and you're sometimes you're doing things with them that really it's things that you like to do on your own, but you're involving the child at the same time. That sort of thing, like that happens. But now that they're older and they can make their own decisions, just lead them into things that we're like, hey, they can bring home something from work, or maybe get you a little something on the side that you normally wouldn't be able to get to on your own.
Look, the rising tide lifts all boats.
Ian, truer words were never spoken on this podcast.
So here's my parent. It's going to be a little long for a sec. I've never pushed my boys in sports, although sports was my entire world till I started being in a band, and then being in a band and sports was my entire world, and boobs. And well, first it was sports, then boobs, then sports and boobs and band, and then boobs and band, and then it came back down to sports, boobs, and band again.
That sounds like a Huey Lewis album, Sports, Boobs, and Band.
So, but I never, pushed on the boys. Always supportive when they did it. It's fine that we have two sports kids. In fact, not only do we not push sports on them, but are incredibly supportive. The little guy who's now on 2 football teams, the junior high he goes to, he's in the 7th grade, and there's a 7th and 8th grade team for junior high. Then there's a junior varsity team and a varsity team with the high school. He, as a 7th and 8th grader, can play on the high school junior varsity team, and he's playing in the travel team. They called and said, we like him to play on the junior varsity team. I said, that's incredibly great. No, he's in the 7th grade. This is his first time at this school. He's new at this school. He's still new to the sport. I mean, he's pretty good at the sport. I taped it. I mean, he missed a scissor kick that would have been, I would have made him quit.
Right.
Forever. You're not playing again.
Play of the day.
You will never, this won't happen. So you're done. You're done. That this goal.
That's your Baba Booey OJ call.
Thank you. He did score a goal like last week. Shot came from left to right, hit the crossbar, went up, and he took maybe 10 steps, jumped over somebody, and headed the ball. Perfect goal. And I was like, and I told him that then, like, you can just leave your bag there. We're going home. He's like, well, it's like, you're done. You're not going to score this goal again.
You won sports.
But I'm like, no. And I said to the athletic director, I'm like, he's in the 7th grade. If he was in the 8th grade, maybe. He doesn't know a lot of kids in the school. If he plays JV, he'll practice with better kids. That will be great, but he'll ride the bench. Let him play. I'd rather him play this. Plus, he has all the travel. That said, here's my parenting tip. The other kid doesn't love football, but thought he'd give it a try this year. Then he went to a school that didn't have it. This fell into his lap. He wants to give it a try. Like we've talked, this is something that I don't see in 20 years people at his office or where he works for his friends are going to automatically assume he was a sports kid background. But it's going to come up. It's like at a party or in a conversation or he'll look up on the screen and see a play and go, oh yeah, this is what happened. It was a guard pull jet sweep to the right. And somebody's like, how do you know that? Oh, I played high school football. No, you didn't. And then they'll call me and say, can you text me some pictures when I played high school football? I'm like, here you go. Experience. And when he went to high school, he says, I want to do different things. I want to see what's out there. I want to join different clubs. And I'm like, that's what you want to hear, But my parenting tip to him specifically is like, homie, don't play that game. Like now that you're doing it and there's politics, I told him, it's like, we make a commitment, you see it through. But at the same time, there's 14 kids on your team that they're dependent to finish their season. It's only the one game. Let's see what happens. But if there's another game where you're losing by 50 points and the only time you touch the field is to help another player off from the other side, maybe we're not available for the Thanksgiving game. It's like, is it blackmailing? No, it's playing the fucking game. And I hate playing the games outside of playing the game. So my parenting tip is like, don't take it. Like, just don't,
Don't be a team player.
Don't be a doormat, be a team player.
Yeah.
But
you have to actually play.
But you have to play, right? You know what I mean? But you did not join the show to be an equipment manager. And if you did, great. If he showed up tomorrow and said, they don't have an equipment manager, I like helping people, I'm good. If he was a Bobby Boucher and just wanted to be a water boy, I would make sure he was at every game and
be the best water boy.
Best water boy you can be. You don't have to be the best water boy. Be the best water boy you can be. If that's what you want to do. If you don't want to be in the school play, but you want to help with set decoration or something like this.
Stage manager.
I will go to every one of those performances and point out to the person next to each other. See that plant? He painted that. He came in on Saturday. And you know what? It wasn't really green enough. And he came back and put the second coat on. I will be just as proud and supportive. But my parenting tip is like, tell your kids you don't have to take shit. That you don't, that every moment of your life from this point on, somebody's going to be out there trying to shovel shit your way. You don't have to take it. You know what I mean? And and extrapolating one spot beyond that, I've had the boys start watching. We car camp all the time. We have a very good friend. I have a very good friend. Went to a great university, moved to Los Angeles. Things were hard. He wanted to be there. He wanted to be in the industry. He had a great education. Things weren't clicking. He signed up for 24-hour fitness, lived in his car, took a shower every day there, did his laundry. He had a job. It wasn't a great job, got a better job. Now he's an executive somewhere. But he lived in his car for several months. I'm like, if you can do that, if you can be healthy and happy and you don't have to have things, it gives you the power to tell people to fuck off a lot more. And so like I said, I hope he's going to play the whole thing. I think it will work out. It's new, it's early in the season, but like I said, when the team he's supposedly playing for is down by over 30 with less than 12 minutes and the same 11 kids on offense turn over the ball in our defense, he might suck. He could be the worst player in the history of football, my son. The other team scored every single time they touched the ball, usually within 2 or 3 plays. How much worse could he be?
Right.
And maybe he goes out there and he gets fucking steamrolled. He's like, what am I doing? This sucks. No, you don't have to do it. But my parenting tip is like, just tell people to fuck off. I don't really give real parenting tips on the show, but yeah, I'm so upset. And it's like I was telling Joe earlier, it's like, this is a local thing. This is a regional thing. Nobody gives a fuck about it. But the people who do give a fuck about it, I can go on the local radio station on Monday. I can call the Lowell Sun and literally, hey, by the way,
FYI.
You know how that was a feel-good story that this school came to save that school?
Here's why.
Yeah, you're going to have to be writing the not-so-feel-good story because those people thought, you know what? Yeah, I'm not your wind-up.
I will not be your monkey.
I will be your monkey.
Yeah. Well, good advice. Good advice to be had by all. So that's it. Thanks for joining us, Biff. It was nice having you on the podcast. Remember way back when I quit this goddamn thing? was 2020, November 2020. Biden had just won the election. I think it was, December 2020, because that's how long it took to fucking ratify that fucking thing. Anyway, when it was determined that Joe Biden was going to be the next president of the United States, I swore up and down, my job is done. I've done it. Did he win? I don't know. Jacques. Jacques writing me upside down codes. No, of course he did. Yes. Who was that? Is that Lauren Boebert over there? I can't see so good. I swore that I would never, I was done with the podcast. Nobody needed to hear my voice again. And I was wrong. And I know it's not anybody listening to this podcast that isn't Jacques Lambert. Only Jacques Lambert needed to hear my voice again. And that was the only reason I decided to come back on a regular basis because, and then post-COVID, I missed my friend. I missed being with my friend. And I missed talking about stupid crap that nobody gives a shit about. Not even me. I'm sorry. One person cares about this crap. One person cares about the dumb meanderings, the ramblings of madmen. So that's the only reason I'm back here. And that's the only reason that Biff is, and the candy, the pile of the diabetes that I am thrusting upon myself. I'm 40. I just turned 46 a few weeks ago. About a month ago almost now. And I got 4 more good years left in me. I think my pancreas has 2. But anyway, I'm rambling here, but that's the reason I'm here is because of this one man, Jacques Lambert. He begged and pleaded, please, Biff brings nothing to this podcast. I'm dying out here. I might as well be talking to this bottle of lilac vegetal that's sitting right behind me. Old Doc Craze lilac vegetal, whole half bottle of lilac vegetal, I might add. No, I kid. But it is how convenient that Biff's, always busy or his internet goes down in the middle of a show. Who does that? What does that? How does that happen? That will never be answered. Questions like that will never be answered. Biff will certainly not answer them because he's never coming back on the podcast, apparently. No, he'll be back. He's, people have lives. Not everybody's available. Not everybody's awake. Other people have other obligations, Jacques. Not everybody can just dick off and, waste their weekends yapping about nonsense. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what we think or what we do or how we feel. I can't even. Is he awake or woke? I like how all of a sudden he's right. Oh no, I got to point to the rap sign. God damn it! I'm getting the rap. I knew that would come in handy. I brought this upon myself. Joe, this is a message to you next time. Don't forget.
This is my once upon a time. From here on out, the words are mine. This is where I define myself. Torturous game, a show and tell. With no lies and no fixed straight. In straight lines without pretense. In spite of all you might have seen. This is me. And I'm wound like a Hitchcock plot beneath this burned out nonchalance of every ache that makes a man, and some most men can't understand. With cold thoughts and bourbon dreams, blank stares and rubber knees, litanies inside my head, and spiders in my bed. is clear.